Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
totally. What's interesting, too, right at the beginning, you set this out. This is a fable based on a
A
tragedy.
true tragedy, yeah.
Yeah.
It's what we do. We do fables. You don't. What else can you do?
Yeah.
What would you say that this actually happened? No. All we know is we have pictures of the castle, but the castle is in England, and we shot the movie in Germany.
Yeah.
You know, and Kristen is American, and as a Chilean director, and of course there's many head of department that are English, and the rest of the cast English, but we're really dealing with something that we consider is universal, and we have limits. And once the story is inside doors and they close the door, all we have is fiction.
Mummy, why do we have to open our presents on Christmas Eve? Why not Christmas Day like everybody else?
You know, at school you do tenses.
Yeah.
It's the past, the present, future.
Right.
Well, here, there is only one tense. There is no future. Past and the present are the same thing.
Daddy told Harry it's because Father Christmas does Queens and Kings the day before everybody else, so that we get the best presents.
It's true.
He still believes it, though.
What? Well, actually, that was my little fabrication.
I believe Mummy.
Daddy did confirm it, though.
Oh, if Daddy confirmed it, then it must be true.
Yes, of course it is.
You two are both gonna get coal for Christmas.
Can we go to the house where you used to live?
It's boarded up. It's dangerous, apparently. They said, it's dangerous, you know? And those voices, like doors closing.
Did Granny order that?
Man, the others are waiting.
Welcome to Behind the Lens. Today, you know him as a director, a producer of many different movies, from Jackie and Neruda and No, which was Oscar nominated, and Fantastic Woman, which won the Oscar for Best Foreign Language, which is now called Best International Film, which he produced, along with so many other movies. And currently, Spencer, please welcome Pablo Larraín. Hi.
Please, thank you for having me. Hello.
And congratulations on Spencer. It all started at the Venice Film Festival, where it won great acclaim, and it was a really interesting movie. And I'm fascinated about your whole company. It's Fabula?
Fabula.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Fable in English, I think.
Yeah, where you become a mogul.
No, we have a company that my brother and I, we've been running for, I don't know, 18 years, something like that, and we have done a lot of things. Some of them are more known than others, but yes, it's been an exciting process, and it's just interesting to have the chance to connect a lot of people from South America, where we are.
And you also, as a director and producer yourself, sponsor new talent and discover new talent, which you help through that company.
Well, yeah, but we don't. Well, it's not charity. It's not that we help. it's just we just work with people that we admire, and what we try to do is not to impose anything. We're trying to help them to find a voice in some cases. In other cases, like Sebastian Lelio, that is a very wonderful filmmaker. When we work with him, we just try to support whatever he likes to do, and finding new voices all around, and it's been interesting. There's a lot of good energy down there, and connecting everyone with people in here or in Europe. It's been interesting. Sometimes more successful than others, but it's good. Yeah.
As a director, producer, it seems to me there's a trend line going through some of your work now, which is spotlighting women in very different ways and very different types of women. But these movies that you've involved yourself in are really a great showcase for these characters. And I'm talking about not just Spencer, which is Diana, Jackie, obviously your first English language film, but also Gloria Bell, which you produced twice, I think.
Twice, yes. Gloria and then Gloria Bell. Yes.
Gloria, yeah, which was terrific, wonderful actress in that, and then Gloria Bell with Julianne Moore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I also did a movie called Emma, but
and Emma currently
yes,
now as
yeah.
well.
Well, it's interesting. I did first I don't know 4 or 5 movies looking at male characters.
Yeah.
and they were like, "Why are you just looking at women and now making movies about women?" And I was like, "Why are you making movies about women?" It's funny, but yeah, the truth is that it's exciting to have such an energy from from those characters, and I think I've learned a lot, and I've also understood how to direct as well movies that are based in female characters. And when I say this, it's also understanding my own limitations on my perspective. And so it's been great to work with actors that are fantastic and fascinating, and find a way to let them do what they think is appropriate in many occasions. So it's really been, in my case as a filmmaker, as a director, I've found myself collaborating with actors that are in a way that I've never done before.
Yeah.
Because it's quite relevant to understand that they would probably provide to the character things that I wouldn't be able to see. And that makes me sort of step back and work really hard with them in the process of creating the character, and then eventually, just let them go and film them in a way. And especially when you're working with wonderful actresses, I'm really blessed and lucky that I have. There's a point that you need to understand that the best instruction is silence. Right. And the best thing you can do is to find a way to help them to do what they want to do, and then you put it together and sort of reassemble the movie. But if this were to be compared to an orchestra conductor, sometimes there's certain instrument that they need to be played by the player in a way that they think, and it's just not only appropriate, but it's also more smart, I think.
Yeah, it's so interesting to me too. Julianne Moore, Natalie Portman, now Kristen Stewart, all in these English language films, one of which is a remake of a Chilean language film. And that's interesting, that you would decide to remake a movie or produce a movie that was already made very recently.
Well, and what is interesting is that they were both made by the same director.
Yeah.
So Sebastian shot the movie in Chile. It's called Gloria,
yeah,
with Paulina Garcia. And then we did it again. It's called Gloria Bell with Julianne Moore. And we just thought that it was interesting to find a way to take that movie to a different place as well. And doing it with Julianne was an incredible experience. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. I think that when we try to look back, it's all about fragments, right? That they wouldn't mean much if you see all those movies by themselves. But if you put them together, then you could probably think that something is making sense at some point eventually. I don't know. You tell me.
And Julianne Moore is actually in the
Lizzie story,
Stephen King, miniseries that you've done for Apple.
Yes.
Which you directed all 8 episodes.
All 8 episodes, and worked with Stephen King, who I deeply admired, and I had the chance to work with J.J. Abrams and his company, Bad Robot.
Wow.
And it was a big task. It was a long road. I learned a lot in that process, and I worked with wonderful actors like Julianne and Clive Owen and Dean DeHaan and Jennifer Jason Leigh, and incredible people, and it was good. And you know what is interesting is that I did that show right before Spencer, so I had to go and sort of deal with the horror stuff, and so I keep saying that I went to the Stephen King school, and then right after that I had to film Spencer, that at some point sort of flirted with the horror. For sure, it becomes a psychological terror tale eventually.
Yeah.
But I was just coming out of this process that it really helped me and make me understand many things, and some of them are related with the simplicity. I think in Spencer I avoided as much as I could any audiovisual fireworks, and I went straight to the character, straight to her, and try to be in her perspective, in her point of view. And that is quite simple in terms of the camera and the visuals, and it's just more grounded and more simple, so you can really connect and understand what she was going through.
Well, far less than a typical biopic or whatever you want to call that. Your approach to this is really her inner life, the inner life of Diana that you're exploring that nobody's done before in this way, which is a completely different kind of thing, a very spiritual movie in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I think it's very spiritual too. I appreciate you say it like that. I agree. I don't think you can actually capture anyone in film. So I think I think biopics are a fantasy of a genre. I don't think you can actually make a movie about anyone. What you do is you're inspired by someone's life, and you can crack, if you can, certain sensibilities and certain emotions around that figure. Of course, you need to have a good cocktail of respect and fiction to put it together. But in the case of Spencer, it's what you were saying. We inhabit her perspective all the time. Right. And we understand that we made a movie that it's about identity. But I have to say, during the process of making the movie, I understood that we were making a movie about motherhood too. Mm-hmm. Thanks to the kids that they were around, and it was very helpful. It just made me understand that Diana was many things, and was a pop icon, a fashion icon, a princess, a member of the royal family, a normal, ordinary woman in a very unusual context. All the things that we might know. But she was above everything a mother, and she took care of those kids. Yeah. And she understood that she could walk away from that family without losing identity and who she was. And it was a good realization. I didn't really see it very clearly before, and I just realized it while making the movie.
You certainly don't make that family look like they have a fun time. In that big castle, it's all very formal, and it's so kind of creepy in a way.
I think that everyone in that family has the same problem. They are all born in that situation. Yeah. They can't really choose. Of course, they have incredible privileges and many things that probably millions of people would like to have. But at the same time, they're trapped in the wheel of history and tradition, and have to repeat things that others have repeated or have created. So they become a role, and this is who you are, this is what you're supposed to do, this is what you need to do, and this is who you represent for others outside of here. When you're in here, you can do what you want, but you still have to follow this rule, you have to dress like this, you have to eat this, you have to be here on time. And everyone has a role, and it's been like that for more than 1,000 years. Yeah. And all those protocols, compared to the contemporary life, sometimes on a movie could look absurd and ridiculous, and they could feel all very oppressive. The family might not look great, but they're part of a machinery that is very hard to be there and to exist in there. And Diana is there to obviously be who she was and break the rules somehow.
Well, you sort of picked a very specific period. Those days.
3 days.
The divorce days, almost, her decision, making what she was going to do right on the edge. Why did that fascinate you?
Well, we discussed this with Steve Knight, who wrote a terrific script, and well, he did most of it. but what we did discuss, it was just to find something that happened in a few days, 3 or 4 days of her life, and something that defined her story, and something that just made her understand who she really was. And that moment was probably when she decides to leave the family, and at some point decides not to be in that marriage anymore. As she said it very clearly, it's just, there's 3 of us in here. Yeah. And she just didn't feel comfortable with how she was being sort of regarded by the family. She couldn't stand the media as well, and it was just all broken. She has to pull herself together and find a way to be by herself and understand that she can do it. So she had to go through that little hell. Yeah. Every big decision that any person has to do in their lives requires that crisis. And when we are in a crisis, we usually behave in a way that is more pure and transparent than in great times. So that's what we chose.
It's really given even more resonance now, I don't think intentionally, but with everything going on with Meghan Markle and that split from that situation too, they're comparing to that. Is that just timing? Or, I mean, that was something probably when this started wasn't really going full hog. I don't know.
I think we were shooting when this happened, or we were in production.
Yeah.
And of course, we were very aware of what was happening. But look, I have a lot of respect for that guy. And I think they probably have gone through a lot of pain with the story of their mom. And I think that, we tried really hard not to create more pain with a movie.
Right.
So we did it with a lot of respect. But I'm telling you, it's not easy. I'm sure it's not easy to have the life that they had. And of course, we can look at the privilege that they have with the many. The thing is, what is what you do with those privileges, and how do you behave, and what is what you care about. And I think that, especially Harry is a guy that cares about things that I think are important, and that he's trying to do the best he can with the things and the reality that he has to deal with. And wherever he's repeating something that his mom did years before, that's for him to answer. But it's obviously an interesting thing, because as we know, history could easily repeat itself often.
Kristen Stewart, what you're talking about, this collaborations with all these wonderful actresses and actors that you've had. What was that collaboration like in working on this film with your star?
It was a lot of fun. What is really funny is that I thought that she was very fearless from the very beginning, from the first phone call up until we started shooting the movie. Because once you're shooting, it's what it is. You're there. What's most scary is the process to get there. Mm-hmm. And then she tells me that she thought that I was fearless. So the thing is that we were both hiding our fears to make it work, and that created an interesting collaboration. But I think Kristen, it's very, very unique, because she's doing what I think a great actress has to do, which is to keep it inside. Probably one mistake that it could happen, or at least something that I wouldn't like, is when someone is putting the character outside and is trying to do the entire character in every word, in every take. He's trying to accomplish the entire thing in every second. And I think Kristen sort of hold it in and made it very mysterious, and she has that mystery, and I think she has the things like this. You would know better. I'm sure you're a better cinephile than I am, but it's like those actresses from the 50s or 60s.
Yeah.
That they were very contained and stylish, but they were there, and they knew and they understood that mystery is the key for cinema.
Oh, totally.
It's the most relevant tool that we have.
Yeah.
And Diana was a very mysterious person too. I mean, I did a very extensive research, and we made a movie. I had no idea who she was, and so it's uncrackable. And I think Kristen kind of got that. And of course, we had an incredible team behind her. We had William Connick, who was a fascinating, brilliant diet coach, and Jacqueline Duran, and the costume design, and Wakana, and Stacy, and the makeup and hair. Everyone.
And your cinematographer is a woman too.
Of course, we'll talk about Claire for sure, but it's in her preparation.
Yeah.
That was easy to just stay on the surface. It was easy to just, I don't know, to make something that it was just so plastic and cosmetic. And so we got through all those things, and then she actually had to perform in front of us, and it was a joy.
That was interesting, Jackie and Diana, your attraction to these women who are tied to very powerful men.
And families.
And then make it on their own in a different way, which is interesting. To
Interesting.
watch.
They
it
have
on their own terms.
a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
A lot of similarities. They were very tragic characters too. They had a recent relationship with tragedy, of course, but they were linked to a very, for me, is a sort of like a cosmic Greek type of character and figures. They were fashion icons,
Yeah.
both of them. They were people that had to deal with media in a way that is very unusual. They had to sort of find their identities in the mouth and in the cameras and the words of billions, and they did. And they were linked to families. They were very powerful men, and they found their own voice there. And that's what I think is fascinating, and that's what I think many people can relate to them. But Jackie is a movie about memory and grief, I think, and Spencer's more about motherhood and identity. So
Yeah.
they're
Interesting.
similar, but not that much.
Do you have a third for this trilogy, or is it stopping there?
I don't know. Who do you think would be a good idea?
I was just thinking now, who would make an interesting person that would fit into that? Well, you started your career with what they call the Pinochet trilogy, essentially.
Yeah.
So there is themes running through things. So maybe, we'll have to find somebody for you.
Let me know. Let me know. We're thinking about it. Let's see. We're very busy here with this movie, and so I guess it's just gotta finish the process. But there might be another one. Yeah, why not?
Well, that's
But if it ever happens, it's gonna be the last one for sure.
and then move on to another thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's a terrific film. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you
here
for
on
having me.
Behind.
Please, a pleasure talking to you.